Welcome to CERA Online, Mr. Minister. We have with us Mr. Chakib Khelil, Minister of Energy of Mines of Algeria, Chairman and CEO of Sonatrach, who was last year President of OPEC, and is President also of OPEC, I think, Mr. Minister.
This year.
We would like first to start by an assessment of OPEC strategy after September 11. You were at the time the President of OPEC. You were presiding of this conference in November that decided that OPEC should cut production only if some important non-OPEC producer came in and shares the burden. A few months later, what is your assessment?
Well, if you just recall, our strategy, was aimed at stabilizing the oil market, and our objective was to introduce this price band mechanism, 22, 28, and achieve $25 per barrel as a stable price. You remember that in 2000 we increased actually production 4 times to stabilize, the oil market. If you remember, prices went up to $33 and even higher. And as a matter of fact, in a few cases we were not able to achieve the price of $25. And of course, the economic downturns that came early 2001 changed all of that. And before the September 11th, we had already reduced our production by 3.5 million barrels per day. And while at the same time you had other countries, non-member countries, that were actually increasing their production while we were decreasing ours. For example, production increased about 1.5 million barrels per day from non-OPEC member countries in 2001. And when September 11th came, the prices, you remember, the same day increased tremendously. So OPEC strategy was really for a stable market, and we quickly reacted to that event by saying we wanted to make sure that supplies were there for the market, and that actually appeased the market, and the prices went down to I think $22, $23. After that, of course, the OPEC, since it decreased quite a bit its production, evaluated the market and needed really, for stabilizing the market, a decrease of 2 million barrels. So in our November 14th meeting, we considered that OPEC countries actually made sufficient effort that year by reducing 3.5, that if they had to reduce another 2 million, and also having their production being replaced and some of the market being taken over by others, was not really fair, was not equitable for all producers. And we decided that we should ask our non-OPEC members, some of them actually are observers in OPEC, like Russian Federation, like Mexico, and others are observers. And we asked them to see in what way they could contribute to that reduction of production. And unless they reduced, we were not really ready to reduce further our production. This is how on January 1st there was a reduction of 2 million barrels per day, including 500,000 barrels, of non-OPEC members. That agreement is still holding. There is a good discipline in the market. The prices are stabilized around $20. Given the economic conditions of the world, I don't think we can hope at this time to see better prices than that. So that in the second quarter maybe we're going to have a further weakening before prices might strengthen in the second semester of this year because of the economic situation in the world, because we are already seeing in the United States especially some signs that economy is improving, and consequently, if economy improves in the U.S., that will have some impact on European and Asian economies, and demand will increase and prices should strengthen. But we don't think really that prices are going to be going toward the $25 target that we have for our objective.
Mr. Minister, you mentioned that in the second quarter, as usual, demand is the seasonal decline in demand. We heard yesterday the advisor to President Putin saying that for Russia it would be difficult to commit itself in the second quarter, that Russia market share used to be 11 to 12%, it had dropped to 6%, and that Russia's national interest was to increase at least its market share. What would you do if Russia decided not to go along in the second quarter by restraining production?
Of course, I mean, this decision has to be an OPEC, decision. We have a meeting on March 15th. I had been invited, as you know, by the Russian government to visit Russia on March 11th with the Secretary General, Dr. Ali Rodriguez, and also with the new president of OPEC. And as a matter of fact, I'll be going also on an official visit to Russia. You know that Russia and Algeria have deep relations from the old days, and we have Russian companies operating in Algeria like Stroitrangas and Rosneft, and I have received the president of Lukoil in Algeria, and we have a strategic relationship between Russian Federation and Algeria. It's probably a unique relationship between Russia and other countries. I think it's only the fourth relationship between two countries. Russian situation is similar to Algeria. Russia depends, of course, on revenues from the oil sector, but also to a great extent on revenues from the gas sector. In Algeria, for example, 40% of our revenues come from the gas sector. So there is a link between incomes from the gas and incomes from the oil. So of course, if there is a reduction in prices in the oil, this is going to affect the gas revenues. In addition, Russia has a $130 billion debt with European Union, I believe, that it has to deal with, and it receives, I think, around $40 billion, I think, revenues from the hydrocarbon sector. So it's an important revenue earners for Russia. When I see Russia, I'm talking about the government, and Russia is facing similar problems that Algeria in terms of unemployment, in terms of development and social needs and other needs. So Russia really is going to need to have revenues, from the oil sector. In this meeting and visit that we're going to make into Russia, we're hoping to be able to discuss this type of issues openly with the various decision makers in Russia, and hopefully we're going to be able to get Russia to cooperate and to continue to cooperate, because we believe it's in the interest of all parties concerned to continue the cooperation, the dialogue, for the benefit of Russia, the benefit of the OPEC countries, and I think for the benefit of consumers. If you recall, there was a situation a long time ago between Venezuela and Saudi Arabia, where Venezuela actually expressed the need to capture a larger share, of the market, and you know what happened there. I don't think it's in the interest of either party to go. I mean, I can tell you that OPEC now has 6 million barrels per day spare capacity. When the demand is very low, like it is now. Countries, very small countries, become very important. Even Algeria becomes important in OPEC. Qatar becomes important in OPEC. But when the demand is going to grow, and demand is going to grow back again, 2003, then it's those countries that have spare capacity available who will dominate, the market. It will be up to them to decide what the price of oil is going to be, and not those who don't have spare capacity.
By the way, Mr. Minister, there was much talk about the suspension of the price band of $22 to $28. Is it really suspended?
Well, we cannot say that it was suspended because there was no decision made by OPEC to suspend.
لا تنسوا زيارة موقع دكتور خليل شكيب. نتكلم عن الاقتصاد، عن الطاقة، عن العلم.